what's one more video going to do? So, thank you very much for having me. Thanks for coming out on Valentine's night. When I spoke to Matt initially, he was like, Valentine's night? I'm like, I have no problem coming up and speaking about America, the country I love. Valentine's Day, people coming might be a different story. So, thank you so much for coming. Y'all got better things to do than listen to a crazy Irish guy, but you're here. And Father, if you don't mind, lock that door. They're not going anywhere for a while. Before I get started, I do have a few things just to say. First of all, I've got a message for y'all from Glenn Beck. I was actually with Glenn today. I was in the studios, had a few meetings around Dallas, and Glenn says thank you very much for continuing on the 9 to 12 project. He appreciates it. He's delighted to hear that there are still some in the country still trying to get involved, trying to do the state's work. So he sends on his best and says thank you for honouring that and continuing it on. For those of you that don't know me, what I should do and when I talk, if this is your first time, when I do talks or when I do radio or when I do interviews, I only ever have one rule. I don't want you to think the way I think. There are plenty of people, there are a dime a dozen who will come here and go, I want you to think like me. I want you to have my opinions. I want you to have my love. That's not my job. If I do my job tonight, you will leave there either a bit more in love with your country or a bit inspired to go, what was that guy talking about? I need to go check him. That doesn't sound right. I need to go do my own research. That is my job. So I was thinking, what do I talk about? And I went, well, it's Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is all about love. It's all about come here, honey, and you're my special one. So tonight, I'm going to do my Valentine's Day speech that I'm going to do. And I'm going to explain to you why I love your nation. I'm going to serenade America for the next 20 minutes, if that's all right with you. For those that don't know, I was really lucky as a kid. When I was growing up, about 7 or 8 years old, back in the late 80s, early 90s, I got to come over here. My grandmother's family immigrated here legally, that had kids, so I got to come over here. And if you can imagine a 7 or 8 year old guy living in Ireland, never really seen anywhere else, and all of a sudden gets on a jumbo jet, goes to Tampa, Florida, gets warm weather, beautiful women, gorgeous accents, a lot of great foods, different cultures. I was hooked. I fell in love with your country. And as you can see, I've adopted quite a lot of your country, especially Southern Ireland. But I fell in love. And then, because as I grew older, I got to travel over because my granddad's uncle had Parkinson's, so we had to come over and spend some time. So I fell in love with your country. And ever since that moment, I was like, I want to live there. I want to be part of it. Then the late 90s hits, the early 2000s hits, and technology becomes better. And all of a sudden I started researching, because not only did I fall in love with your country, I fell in love with your accents, your way of life. Your outlook was always so inspiring. You never looked backwards, you always looked forwards. It was never a case of where I grew up with people, oh, I could never do that. Oh, I can't do that. I come from the wrong neighborhood. Americans were like, I can do it. We can go to the moon. Yeah, absolutely. Damn right we can. We can start up our own business. I come from rags to nothing. I can still be rich and successful. That American can-do spirit I fell in love with. Then with the advancement of the internet, I learned about your country. I learned about your ideals. I learned about your constitution. I learned why America, factually, not opinion, factually is an exceptional nation. You're exceptional because you are different. You're unique. There is no other America, past or present. There is only one America. And I want to talk to you about what that America is for me. Because right now, and it's growing on all sides, I have friends on all sides of the aisle, where everyone defines America by your politics. I have friends on the right, because I wanted to come here legally for 15 years. I've tried many different ways. 2 years ago, Glenn offered me a job, and I couldn't get it because I didn't meet the visa criteria. I got a call 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, I'm sorry, I'm really bad at time. And someone said, John, do you really still want to come to America? And I'm like, absolutely, I love your country. But look what they did in New York. Everything you stand for, why would you want to come to America? I'm not defending, I think it's disgraceful what they did in New York. Amen. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But it's not about your politics. I had people on my friends on the left, it's a popular line now, to repeat what my friends on the right said for the prior news. John, Donald Trump is Nazi Hitler. Why would you want to come and live in a country under Donald Trump? And I'm like, it's not about Donald Trump. My friends on the right said the same thing under Obama. It's not about your politics. Anyone can control Congress. I would love Congress to actually follow the Constitution. Amen. That is what I would love. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I'm going to talk to you about your founding documents. I wish And I long for a day where America's politicians actually understand why you are different. One of the things that pees me off is when I see Republicans and Democrats talking like they want America to be some other country. The fact of the matter is, if they had any sense or any knowledge of history, they would be saying to them, no, we don't want to be anybody else. Right. What we want to do is make America the Statue of Liberty, where we hold our principles firm and we shine the light of freedom for the world. Amen. Amen. So what are those principles? What are those principles? Well, if you want to know those principles, you need to read the Declaration of Independence. That's where it all starts. But if you want the truth, where it actually started is rather apt, is where we are right now. Because everyone when I talk to people today, they don't know their real history. When I say to people today, when was your Revolutionary War? Who did you fight it against? Everyone says it started in 1776 and we fought the British, the Redcoats, and we kicked their ass out of there. I'm sorry, that's the wrong answer. The right answer was it started at a pulpit. Thomas Jefferson, when he was writing the Declaration of Independence, didn't write all these truths shall be self-evident, that all men are created equal. That wasn't a poll tested. That wasn't Thomas Jefferson sitting down, do you know what the people will love? This will galvanize them. This will get a yeehaw. It was started at a pulpit because preachers, pastors, priests were standing there preaching principles. And the church was on fire, so that Thomas Jefferson in 1776 could write, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Today, what truths are self-evident? Because who preaches them? It's not popular. What are some of these values? Well, let's start with what I just spoke about. Why America is exceptional is because it starts with life. In America, historically, life was precious. Life was a gift from your Creator. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in Allah, whether you believe in a stone, whether you believe in Mother Nature. Life is a precious gift. And each of you has meaning. You count. I don't know what your role is in life. I don't know what your purpose is. I don't know what your talents are. But each and every one of you has a purpose. You have something unique that makes you different. Everywhere else around the history of the world says you're not precious. You're seeing this in Europe right now. The Jews yet again are on the run. That's right. The Jews are being run out of France. Anti-Semitism, it's such a popular thing. There's something wrong with that's them stupid Jews. Let's blame them. You start to see that. Everyone wants to, it's popular to say that. You know what isn't popular to say? Because no one ever says it. The real problem in Europe, Christians, and I'm one of them, so I can say this, are damn silent when it comes to someone else getting tortured. Amen. Life is precious, whether you agree with someone or not. That bill in New York is a disgrace. We need to start making the case for why life is precious. Whether you agree with someone, whether you like them, whether you think they're a good person or a bad person, your emotions are irrelevant. Life is precious. Over in Europe, life is disposable. You're seeing it with abortion. I'm here in 2019, and the chances are, I hate to break this to you, this will be my one down in comment, there's a chance I could be standing here in 2029 and Planned Parenthood would still be funded because no one will make the case. What more do you need to have happen where an undercover group goes into them, shows them their executives meeting, harvesting baby body parts, and yet it's still funded? Preach it. Life is precious. Because I asked this question. I was in the Mercury Studios today. I'm going to make this real personal. I'm sure you all know Glenn Beck. I was in the Mercury Studios today. I had some meetings around Dallas, and I always, anytime I'm around Dallas, I call in. I'm friends with Glenn. He's one of my best friends. I met his daughter again today, Mary. For those who don't know Mary, Mary has a few little disabilities. She is an absolute sweetheart. Amen. She has a heart of gold. Where does it stop? Where does life stop? Where does life say, you know what, you don't have value? In Iceland, I read an article a couple of months ago. I was unbelieved by this headline. Iceland has solved Down syndrome. I was like, this is great. We've a medical breakthrough. Nah, we just abort that. Where does it stop? Where is the line that is too far to cross? Late-term abortion, is the baby alive? I don't like the gender. I don't like the traits. It's overweight. John's going to be fat. He'll be a burden. Get rid of him. Where does it stop? It is not to speak, is to speak. Not to act, is to act. Because here's the thing. You may be sympathetic to some type of abortion. I have many friends who go, look, I'm not as extreme as you on life, John, but, about 20 weeks. 20 weeks, I think it's wrong. After 20 weeks. And I'm like, just break that down for a second, the logic. What happens in that split second? At 19 weeks, 6 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. Hey, yeah, it's fine. I got no problem with that. That split second to turn to 20 weeks? Oh, that's wrong. Can't do that. Yeah. Well, then what happens? Why is it not 24 weeks? Why not 28 weeks? Why not 32 weeks? Where does the line stop? We need to make the case politically, but more importantly, through our pulpits and through our friends, of why all life is precious. Amen. Amen. The second reason I want to leave the place I live in and come over here is because where rights come from. The fundamental understanding of what makes America different, because no other nation has ever said this in their founding documents, or no other nation would dare say these words. You know all these politicians that you all have? Your rights don't come from them. You don't need them. Amen. Your rights come from your Creator. They're yours. And guess what? They're not some bargaining chip that can be negotiated away because you want to make a more compassionate or moderate bill, or some negotiating point to pass a bill. They're from your Creator, not anyone else. Amen. Also, what makes you exceptional is you have a fundamental belief in the individual. Thomas Jefferson, all men are created equal. That is a powerful statement. I hear everyone loving to talk about equality today. The foundational stone of my beliefs are those 5 little words. All men are created equal. Because here's the truth. I believe in equality. I believe we're all created equal. And fundamentally, what funds my beliefs true has been a Christian, but also through my political beliefs and my philosophical beliefs, is I don't have a right to tell you what to do. I don't have that right, because if I had to, you can't own that gun, or this new Green New Deal, hey, you know what? Buddy, you can't have that plane business. You can't have that car. You've got to travel by train. I don't have that right. It may be for the best most of reasons in the world, which the Green New Deal isn't. But even if I have the best intentions in the world, I don't have a right to compel you to act a certain way. Why? Because we don't believe in the collective. We don't believe in a higher power of government of man. What we believe is in the individual, Amen. Where you have individual rights, but also individual responsibilities. Amen. Right. Another reason I love your country is because historically, not so much today, you didn't judge men by a label. People ask me all the time, how does someone living in Ireland who comes to America maybe once a year end up on the blaze? How does that happen? You have to know someone, right? Sure, I knew people, but that didn't happen. Glenn was annoying me one week, and I rang in. He kept using a word called the middle class. I hate that term in America. Amen. It does not belong here, because it goes against the belief of American, what your founders stood for. Why? Because if you truly believe all men are created equal, you automatically cannot have a middle class. Because if you have a middle class, you automatically have an upper class, and you have a lower class. And if you live in England, you have 5 classes. You have an upper class, an upper middle class, a middle class, a lower middle class, and the lower class. This idea of we will base you on a label. In Ireland, you had the culture where if you don't come from the right family, or you don't have the right background, or you're more suburban rather than urban, you can't have certain jobs. Now it's changed. The first economic lesson I learned should frighten everyone. I never knew what it meant, but as I grew older and understood it, it frightens the hell out of me. I was taught this as about a 5 or 6 year old kid. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Amen. So much business is done on those terms. If you know the right people, you've got to go ahead. America didn't believe in that. America said, you know what? The great thing about America, the American dream, if you have a pursuit, you have a right to get it. Just think of people today. I used this example earlier on. I said, let's say I was an American and I had an issue with my local representative. Do you think if I found them, and then Glenn found them, and then Bill Gates found them, do you think we'd all get equal treatment? That's not the way it works, because we don't judge people on a labor. But this is why America became the powerhouse it is. Because so many people today talk to me about the American dream. I disagree with what many people call the American dream today. I disagree with it because when I talk to so many, everything boils down to materialism. Oh, my American dream is I get to have 2 houses. I got to have 2 cars. I got to go on a second vacation. I got to get the. As someone who's wanted to be here 15 years, I don't want any of it. Do you know what I want? Do you know what my American dream is? I want to live free. I don't particularly want to be that wealthy. Truth be told, I don't want to be famous. This is the last thing. If you knew me 15 years ago, when you said in 15 years this is what you're going to be doing, I'd be like, you're wrong, I'll take that bet. As the old Calvin Coolidge quote goes, you lose. Guess what, I'm here. I don't want to do this, but I do it because no one else will speak about it. Amen. The idea of America, that idea, again enshrined in your Declaration of Independence, I keep harping back to it, but it is so critical. It's not about the Constitution. The Constitution is important. It's critical you understand the Declaration of Independence, because without it, there is no Constitution. Amen. The important thing to understand is the American dream is about the ability to pursue your happiness. You want to be a doctor? Go be a doctor. You want to fix cars? Fix cars. You want to be a stay-at-home mom? Be a stay-at-home mom. You want to go run a cafe and start your own business? Go do it. No one has the right to say, you can't do it. No, you can't. No one has the right to guilt trip you into saying, why, you only want to be a stay-at-home mom? Can you not do better for yourself? What's wrong with you? What you seeing in society today? You have a right. If it makes you happy, you have the right to pursue it. But also what's critically important is when you pursue that happiness, and if you are blessed enough to be successful, you have the right to keep the fruits of your labor.
That's right.
In Europe, historically, we don't have that. Historically, in Europe, if you had to pursue happiness and then it became successful, guess what? A king came along and took it and said, you know what? I'm a compassionate and benevolent king. I'm so awesome. I'm going to take your invention, but you know, because I'm such an awesome guy, I'm going to let you work for me. You see this in Ireland, where they are trying to control business. You saw this under the last administration. If you happened to be a coal miner, you were screwed. If you had a pursuit, you had a happiness to make coal, or have a coal business, or have a mine, your pursuit of happiness was squashed. You have a right to keep the fruits of your labor. Freedom to me isn't, the American dream isn't about materialism for me, it's about freedom. And if you be successful and you want to be a multimillionaire, you want to have private jets, go for it. I have no problem with wealth. Some other differences between America and the rest of the world. Everywhere else set up their government with the power at the top, and then it filters a little down. You know, trickle-down power, to quote Obama. It was actually not trickle-down economics, it's trickle-down power. Because every other country, when it's set up, said, you know what? I'm going to have a monarch, I'm going to have a dictator, I'm going to have a king, whatever it is, and said, I'm going to have all these powers, and I shall be responsible for X, Y, and Z. And then the people under them said, oh, that's great, well, we'll take all this, what's left over, and then maybe a little thing trickle down to the local level. America is the exact opposite. When America actually follows the Constitution, you actually understand Congress has very little power. In fact, there's only 18 clauses in the Constitution. I love people running around today going, I'm an elected official, I'm a conservative. Let me state this factually. If you have voted in DC for any continuing resolution ever, you have violated your oath of office. Amen. Ever. And I'm being polite when I say continuing resolution, because if any other company operated the way the federal government operates in America, you'd be put out of business because you don't have a budgetary process. But even the continuing resolution, that means you've violated your oath of office. There are 18 clauses there, period. Everything else is left to the states. Why is that so critical? Because you didn't come together as a country and say, we're going to have to set up America, and then America will have all these powers and everything else is left up to the colonies. No, your 13 colonies came together and made you the United States. You all came together and said, we will give you these powers, but the rest are for us. In Ireland, in Europe, anywhere, in England, there are no limits on government. There's nothing government can't do. Ireland had a legislation, I'm sure you all heard of it. We became a progressive nation because we're just so wonderful and legalised abortion. You don't know the stats about that? I'm going to ballpark, I'm not great at numbers. Ballpark, 55% of the voting public who could vote, voted. So that means on a certain referendum, my rights are up to maybe 50, 60% of the people who vote, and getting 50% plus one. That's 30% of the population can take my rights away, like that. Because there are no limits on government. There is no legislator. If they want to do it, tomorrow, if a person ran in Ireland and said, you know what, I think it's all the Jews' fault, get rid of them. If someone ran tomorrow in Ireland and said, you know what, it's all anyone who earns over 100,000 euro, you don't need over 100,000 euro, look, you can live on 100,000 euro, 100% tax, and they win, guess what happens? Now, while the Constitution isn't followed today, technically you do have a limit on government, because if you go against it, it goes against the Constitution if someone did that. but you have to enforce the Constitution. There are a couple of other differences between my country and the history of the world and America. And these are two very key differences. One, in my country and in Europe and in every other history of the nation, man is the ultimate authority. We make man gods. We elect them. We go, oh, you're our elected representative official. We need you. Go fight for us. We need you. America is different. America, the key message to America, I always say this, it's the sentiments of the Tocqueville. America is great because Americans are good. Ireland says you need this, oh, there's a homeless problem, which we do have at the minute. Oh, well, even the Catholic Church is going, what's government doing? I'm like, Catholic Church, do you ever read the Bible? It starts at home. Oh, well, we pay our taxes. America wasn't about that. America was saying, you know what? You see a problem, you can fix it. You have a problem in society, you fix it. You can do it. You don't need the politicians. It's this mirage that they've built up. It's like the Wizard of Oz. They've just built up this mirage saying, you need me. And by the way, in case you think this is all about the left and socialism, the right are just as bad, saying you need me to fight there. You need me in DC. You can't have it. You see this all the time in polls by different societies where they go, you know what, do you think every member of Congress should be abolished tomorrow? Yeah. Then you actually delve deeper into the results and go, yeah, I actually think every member of Congress should be gone, except my member of Congress. Yeah. It's always my member of Congress we want to keep. And it's the same state, true state, whether you're red or blue, whether you're Republican or Democrat. And here ultimately is the biggest difference maybe in some ways. Because while we make man, you make the creator. Everything is about nature's law and nature's God. And through that, you have a cultural problem. Because in my country, we seek to tear people down. We love tearing people down. In America, historically, as I said at the start, you build people up. You inspire people. You've inspired me. Your founders inspired me. Your history inspires me. You have been that country of you can do it. Let's just talk about some examples of your history. I wish I was an American where I could go, this is my history, damn it. I'd be the biggest boaster if I ever become American, I'm telling you. You think I'm bad now? Wait, if I ever become an American, you'll never show me up. Let's talk about your history. Because everyone today wants to make winning the big thing. Oh, we got to win. We got to win. We got to win all the time. 1776, Revolutionary War. If you had put every member in the Continental Army, including George Washington, my hero, and the 54 brave people who signed the Declaration of Independence, do you think you're going to win? Do you think one of them would have said yes? Let me bring this even closer to home for Valentine's Day. For the ladies, I want you to do a bit of role play in your head. You're Martha Washington. For the gents, you're George Washington. I'm going to ask you a simple question. George Washington, in his great wisdom, said, hey, guess what? I'm going to kick the British butt. We're going to get them out of here. And I've signed up to be the leader of the Continental Army. And he goes home, all proud of himself. We're going to kick the British butt. We're going to kick it. We're going to win. Hey, honey. He sees Martha. Martha goes, hey, honey, how are you? I'm great, honey. How was your day? I'm great. I just signed up to be the leader of the Continental Army. 2 questions for you. Role play it in your head tonight. Martha Washington. Do you think she slapped him silly? And do you think if there was such a thing, do you think George Washington slept in the marital bed, or do you think he slept on the sofa that night? Just something to roll. I have the answers in my head, but historically we don't know. But I doubt she was, hey, that's brilliant, honey. Your history is not about winning. Your history is about doing the right thing. People talk today about winning. Go through, if you haven't ever done this, look at the 54 people who signed the Declaration of Independence and ask yourself a real hard, honest question. How many of them won? Because if you want the truth, the answer is not very many. Some of them people who put their lives, that wasn't a Declaration of Independence to them, that was a death warrant for them and their families. The amount of people who signed the Declaration of Independence who lost everything. There was a judge in New York who never heard a case after it. People had lost their lands. People had their wives, their sisters, and their kids raped. Do you think they won? Do you think it was worth it for them? It was worth it in the bigger picture, but there was sacrifice. Then you go through the Revolutionary War. It wasn't all plain sailing. It wasn't. There's this revisionist history that kids think today. We signed the Declaration of Independence, and we fought the British. And there was a couple of wars back and forth, and then you won. That was a really harsh winter. You think anyone would give you, even if you're outside looking in, anyone give the Americans a chance? Fighting the superpower of the day, who are well armed, well trained, well experienced, well set out, loads of men against the Americans who are a bunch of farmers. Not everyone had guns. A lot of them didn't have shoes on their feet. They had the same food. A lot of people didn't even have blankets. You think they had a chance? But guess what? Through faith, through a lot of divine providence, through never giving up, through always standing for principles, you won. And guess what happened? Ah, well, John, that's only once. You know, anything can happen once. You can get lucky once. Well, guess what? You kicked their butt again in 1812. It wasn't lightning in a bottle. But then let's fast forward. Because everyone wants to talk today about America's founders in such a negative way. Oh, John, they were slave owners. Sure. You got to put it in the context of the day.
Amen.
You got to also understand that if you actually understand the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson wrote a key line which was never made the light of day. Your Christian king stands for slavery. He wanted to abolish slavery. But if they didn't get the 13 colonies to agree with it, and 2 of the colonies needed slavery to be successfully commercially. So it was taken out. But your founders were against it. You look at Thomas Jefferson's writing. How can you say your founders were for slavery when they all signed the Declaration of Independence saying all men are created equal? Do you think a slave owner is going to say that? Really? You have to understand the context of the day. Read George Washington. Read the laws of the day where if you were in debt, you couldn't release your slaves. You could only release them on debt in certain states. It's all about states. Then go on to the Civil War. It was bloody. It was brutal. You'd never end slavery. Guess what? You did it. Look at some of the advancements you've made. Just look around how much we have made a difference in our society. Just think of today. Because of the American entrepreneurial spirit of I can make a difference in society. You know, we all have this revisionist history where life was always like this. Guess what? It wasn't. Lighting, indoor plumbing, TVs, whiteboards, vending machines. You go into Walmart, do you all realise how lucky you are? You go into Walmart, I used to hear this term, I don't hear it anymore in your media. There's a food desert. Go to frickin' Walmart, there isn't a food desert, and you have choices beyond. I can make an argument, maybe you have too many choices, but that wouldn't be pro-freedom, that would be pro-tyranny. But you have all these things, balloons, water. You have everything you want. Why? Yes, it's capitalism, but it's because somewhere someone saw an opportunity to give you a service at a good price and you buy it. That is about freedom, pursuing their happiness. Going to the moon. John F. Kennedy stood at a speech in 1963, we're going to the moon. Everyone went, are you crazy? Guess what? You all went to the moon. Let's fast forward to Ronald Reagan. We all mentioned Ronald Reagan. Great guy. I'll finish up with this to understand why America is exceptional. Who won the Cold War for Ronald Reagan? Was it Ronald Reagan? Because the answers I get all the time are Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and Pope John Paul. They win the World War. Did they win the Cold War? You all won the Cold War. Why? Because the message, if you ever read Reagan's speeches, and if you want history, here's your homework, go read some of Reagan's speeches from the Cold War, because it's about time America heard that again. But what Reagan's messaging was to Gorbachev was, I've become president. I've taken the foot off the American people's throat. They can do anything. I've lowered taxes. I've let them be free. I've let them follow and pursue their happiness. I've unleashed the oil industry again. We're doing a Star Wars program. Here's the question you need to ask. All the American people, all the innovation we've done, all the changing in the world, and I'm letting them go at it. Do you think we can really do it? But even that isn't really the question. The way I treat my people where they're free and they're free to pursue their happiness, and the way you treat your citizens as second-class citizens, who's going to out-manufacture and who's going to make the most innovative products? That's why Star Wars won. Even if it never actually came true, which it did, by the way, the Iron Dome in Israel. But here's the thing. Even if it didn't, he bought the line. Why? Because freedom is powerful. Because here's the thing. You can have 1,000 men who are controlled under a tyrant, under a despot, who have no freedom and are not allowed to innovate. I don't want those 1,000 men. You give me 10 men who are yearning to breathe free, to follow their happiness. They will win each and every time because they're passionate. That is what they're put on this earth to do. We need to encourage people. I'll finish up with one last thing, and it's a plea. It's become popular today to mock the left. This new girl, I Never. AOC. AOC. I'm not even going to pronounce her name. Ever, you know who I'm talking about. I see countless memes about her face, about what she said and how she's inconsistent. We need to stop talking down to people. We need to stop treating them like they're dumb. If someone is actually genuinely dumb, why mock them? We need to actually teach them. We need to base around their principles. Because here's the truth. The world is struggling right now. The world is going through major changes. Whether you know it or not, people are not saying this directly or indirectly, but they're saying we need something to make sense. And what you're seeing is, you're seeing this in America, you're seeing this in England, you're seeing this in Europe, you're seeing this in Ireland, everywhere. There is no consistency. There is no nature's law. Man's law will always fail. If there is nothing consistent, if I can say opinion today and in 10 years from now it can be totally different, you cannot build. That is not a foundational stone. If you want me to get biblical for you, when the storm comes, the wind will blow that house down. The only country that set its principles up on a foundation was a set of values and principles. Even if you don't agree with what I said, or you have a slight disagreement on pursuit of happiness or life being precious, whatever it is, you have to have an understanding that there are certain principles that will always be true. No other country says that because everything is up for popular opinion. Why I do what I do is because America is the only country. People always say to me, but why do you want to live in America? Where else is there to live to? Show me the other place where the pulpit's on fire. Show me the other places where it actually talks about nature's law and nature's God. Show me the other people who want to be free. And I mean real freedom. I don't mean your version of freedom. There is only America. And the world needs America. But it doesn't need it controlling people. It doesn't need them influencing other people. What you need is the Statue of Liberty. That is when you're at your best. Shine the principles for the world. Show them they work. Because if you do that, not only will you prosper, not only will you have your best days ahead of you, the world will be better and safer for it. Because the question is, to me, I get all the time is, but John, we can't solve the problems we have today. I'm here to tell you, there is not one problem that you face, and there are many, that cannot be solved by returning to your foundational principles. They are tried, tested, and true. Amen. The question isn't whether it can happen. The question isn't whether it can work. The question is, do you all want it? And are you willing to make the sacrifice for yourselves and the future generations? Historically, up to 2018, the answer when that question has been posed, every generation has said, we will make that sacrifice. If I may get biblical against it as I am in the church, we are willing to walk in the desert for 40 years and not ask for meat. We will not be the weak people who ask for meat. We will be loyal to principles. Because if you are loyal to those principles and you really inspire by them, you will prosper. Because freedom always works. Tyranny always fails. Amen. That is history. That is not my opinion. Read history. That is a fact. I have yet to see another nation who has changed the world because, hey, we live under a democracy, or we live under a king, or we live under a theocracy.